was a lot of people, but this time it was not a single soul downstairs there who came with a van, went outside. The van went away. We took a lift to the top, and there were a few guys there helping us into our seats. Then they closed the hatch, you can see behind me, and then they went far away. No one want to be close to the rocket when the rocket starts, unless that is you're sitting there. You're sitting there for several hours, you're almost sleeping, but when the rocket starts to move, then you wake up to Earth. It's raining. Both physics and psychology. But I was happy, laughing there in my spacesuit. Finally, 14 and a half years after I was selected to become an astronaut, I was on my way to space. This space shuttle, after the amazing, it's about 2,000 tons going into space, about 50 million horsepower, you can see. You can point out when someone brags about this new car with a few hundred horsepower. After 2 minutes, these boosters separated, they had done its job, and it becomes a smoother ride. It's not so shaky. Those boosters, as it fell down in the landing with parachutes, they couldn't be used. The ride becomes a bit smoother, but it accelerates last minute. You weigh about 3 times more than usual, normal, let's say. You are 3G acceleration. And then in a split second, only 8.5 minutes after the takeoff, engine stops, new space, new weightlessness, new lives develop. 2 days after launch, we docked with this International Space Station, which had 3 people on board at the time. And the space station was basically about halfway built. And our main job was to continue building the space station, which we did already the following day with the first spacewalk. We had that part, you can see up to right there, with us up in the space shuttle. It was brought out, with robotic arms to the end of the space station. And then me and my friend Beamer, we worked on it during the spacewalk and secured it today, so it's going to do other things like that whole flight. Next then we were going to retract some solar arrays, which needed to be moved later. That was to be done from the inside by command, but it didn't work, as you can see. It didn't want to fall. This became a problem for the mission control center in ground to try to figure out how can we solve that. While they were figuring that out, we were doing what they already trained for several years. There's space program 2, using Soyuz capture. Well, here I do a little bit live connection with Stockholm. That's the ground process for Sweden I'm talking about. And I did a little frisbee trick, which they unfortunately didn't want to acknowledge as a world record, so I was cheating doing it. Then we got a message from ground. Hey guys, go out and do another spacewalk to fix these solar arrays. That was a challenge. We had not trained on this. We didn't know how to do it. No one knew the problem until during the war, together with the big smart girls and guys working in the mission control center, we found a solution. We could retract it, and everybody was happy, and we were all as well, and we left the space station. Here you can see it's an empty cargo bay in the shuttle, but we had that part with it. But we still had a little bit work to do in space. There are some experiments which we had to deploy from the space shuttle. This one was going to study the remainder of gases. We're still up there several hundred kilometers altitude. And 30 days after we left Oregon, here we are back. Our commander did a perfect touchdown on this very long runway I mentioned before. It was good he could do that because the shuttle was a lighter airplane when it came back. I had no engines then to do another go round if something came in wrong. But that one part of the shuttle flights always worked well. Otherwise, unfortunately, the shuttle was a reusable space, but it was very cheap because there was so much service work between each flight, and it was not robust. Out of 135 launches, 2 complete catastrophes where the whole crews succumbed. So therefore, after the second accident, one decided, okay, we need to keep the shuttle to finalize the building of the space station, but then we retired. So that's shuttle flew in 2011, and now they are in DC. So this beautiful picture was taken by our commander during the first space war, and it ended up later on a website for travel. And someone gave the name Travel Picture of the Year 2006. So it's not my name for that picture. I can just say I agree. And the funny thing is that comments down under on the website, someone had written, "Oh no, that is too good to be true. Must be Photoshop." I can tell you, I was there. I'm driving it back to the camera. It is true. And what you see below us there is New Zealand, on the south side, and to the left and the upper right is the north side. Extravehicular activity, that's the kind of NASA lingo for normal space walk. Although we're not walking, as you can see, we are climbing, right? You see there are hammer rails there, we are using the hammer rails to move around. And like when you're climbing in the mountains, you have safety tethers, ropes, that in case you would let go somehow, well, you wouldn't fall down because your weight is just floating, but you would float away from the space station, and there's no way to get back. You're not even here to kind of push aside. All others, when we do space travel, also like when you do air, when you fly in the air, you have several layers of safety. So on the back, on these kind of big backpacks we have, which keep all our lights and support systems, there are small rockets which you can activate and try to fly yourself back. Fortunately, no one has needed that yet. Spacewalk lasts normally around 6 to 7 hours, and the life support system there, this oxygen you need, etc., is designed for 8 hours. So space is amazing. Spacewalk is extra amazing. Well, I got one more flight to space 2.5 years later, roughly, and here's the photo from that launch. And it shows you quite nicely the dynamics of a launch to space. No, it's not that you be going up there and crashing down. No, it's that what you need is a very high velocity, almost 28,000 kilometers per hour. So you don't fall down back on Earth, but you kind of sort of fall around Earth, go into orbit. And you have to go high, well above all the atmosphere, so there's no air resistance. You can keep that speed. And that's why we go high up. They say that space starts at 100 kilometers altitude, but actually we want to go even higher. So first you go kind of up, and then above the atmosphere, and then you start to really accelerate. And it takes some time, distance at least, to get that high velocity. And then we follow the Earth. And you know the Earth is round, so that's basically it. So 2 days later, we are here now approaching the space station for the second time. This is Nicole Scott, she's checking in her new hole. We will change her here from one of the other crew members of the space station.
Brought TCS 0.07.
Happy?
This is maybe not 0.06.
One of the more exciting moments.
Okay.
It's the docking.
Yeah, that's okay.
Now right there, you see on the top is the space station, and below is the shuttle approaching, and you can see the ring there. Our commander there is the guy in the red cap, he's flying manually. And all 7 on board the shuttle there, they're helping out some way or another with the circle flight. I'm the guy in the middle down there. I'm responsible for the docking system. I'm also focusing a camera which the commander is looking at. That's what he's looking at to kind of aim properly. Cannot go too fast, not too slow either. Here we have connection. You see the lights flickering there. So now we are connected to station. But waiting for some signals up there. Will be okay. Everyone's happy. And in particular, the commander will be very embarrassing for him if he hadn't failed, he had to go back. But no, then we kind of connected hardly to each sure that everything was airtight, and we opened the hatch to the space station, which was now almost fully assembled. And on board this time was living 6 people. And the commander was Gennady Pavlovka, a Russian. For a while had a world record of total amount of time in space. 878 days he spent in space with 5 long space stations. With him was another Russian, there was 2 Americans, was a Canadian and a European colleague of mine, Frank Wynn from Belgium, with the back to the right. So that meant that all in all we were 13 astronauts out there from 5 different countries. We were working together in a little bit over a week on this very international space station. So our main cargo this time we had in a special module which were connected into the space station with a special another docking port while we were there. And in this module was tons of stuff. There was some food for the crew up there, new clothes, a lot of equipment to the space station. We're still equipping the space station. Here we do a little kind of translation system in weightlessness, how it can work. Here the stuff goes into the Japanese laboratory. Several modules which are kind of designed as laboratory stuff. One experiment we had in the shuttle, we had to have in the cabin on the shuttle, because in this box we had 6 mice. We're going to study how the bones of the mice are deteriorating in weightlessness. You know that happens to us humans. I mean, we need to understand this more, and we can investigate the mice a little bit more than this. Here I'm doing my first spacewalk on this flight. What I'm holding there is actually a box of cooling fluid for the station. It weighs 850 kilograms. You have to be strong. It's weightlessness. Still was some kind. What's the heaviest object someone has handled himself in space? Here's Frank Wynn from Belgium, showing how you can handle things in weightlessness. He later became the first non-Russian, non-American who was a commander on the space station. So US and Russia are the 2 countries owns most of the space station. Another partners are Japan, there's Europe, 10 countries, and there's Canada. And that is, they pay more, they have more astronauts. So here is Nicole having fun. This is really fun when you get used to it in weightlessness. In the beginning, you can easily maybe feel a bit sick if you do these things, but that's why it's really fun. The last evening, we gathered all 13 of us around one small table for a little farewell dinner. And here you can see how you eat, typically just out of bags or tins. You can bring a bit of your own food with you. What I have here, giving my friends, is actually Swedish cookies, pepper cookies. It's how you And then the final farewell toast. What we are toasting here is actually mainly urine. So we kind of reuse all the fluids we take in, come out, clean them, and we can reuse. That is sustainability. Yeah. And then we left the space station. Maybe the most emotional and most beautiful picture, seeing this amazing kind of modern spaceship floating there, 350 kilometers above the ground. I've had so fun. I was so proud of being part of building this space station, working with great friends, and I knew I was not coming back because my bosses had already told me, okay, that's it for you. Sweden don't pay enough. They didn't say that. But it's really an amazing construction up there, which had been built like a huge Lego, while up in orbit, piece by piece. The first piece was launched already in 1998. That's the one there in the middle where you have kind of some storage in half the track. 2 years later, November 2000, was big enough so people could start living there permanently. This space station has now for almost 24 years. People have been living there all the time. And normally, people are actually who go there and live there. They're there for half a year. beginning with 3, and then 6, and then normally 7. And why these numbers? Well, it's because when you're on the space station, you always have a capsule with you which you can save and go home. And that's normally the same capsule which you come up with. And in the beginning was always a Russian Soyuz capsule, which can take 3 people. Further 3. Now it's bigger, you could have 2 Soyuz capsules, 6 people. Nowadays there's also American capsule, there's the Dragon from SpaceX, which can take 4 people. Nowadays it's normally 1 Dragon, 1 Soyuz with 7 people. And they are designed to be able to kind of be used in space for at least half a year. You don't want to waste that. It costs a lot of money to go to launch things. So that's why you go up with one of these things, you stay there for a half year. It's big, that's a bit over 100 meters wide here, with about 80 meters long. And it's nowadays normally around 400 kilometers altitude. We have built this space station partly because we want to learn how it is to build and live in space, to learn what we need to know before we go even further in space, to move back to Moon to Mars. But it also offers unique possibilities for science in many ways. I mean, it's the views up, views down on Earth, but it's particularly weightlessness. You just float and float. All these things have kind of contributed to making this a fabulous laboratory. That's what we use it for. And this weightlessness gives the opportunity to do science in many fields where so many things behave differently. All the way from physics to biology to medicine. Just an example, you see that pictures to the left. It's a candle, right? Everybody knows how a candle looks on Earth. But why does it look like that? Well, it's because warmer is lighter than colder. So the air goes up, and then it comes new air on the sides, and you get the air circulation connection. And you get new fresh oxygen in there. It burns you up. Well, in weightlessness, it doesn't matter that the warmer is lighter. It doesn't go in any particular direction anyhow. It just diffuses out. And you don't get as much fresh oxygen coming in, so you don't. It doesn't burn as well. So one of many things this studied out there is actually combustion and the material science, etc. Biology, we study animals. I mentioned we have rats, mice with us. How things are growing. What you see there is actually how a little seed gets a root going out. Here on Earth, the root goes down, right? How do we know that they're going to go down? What's the sensitivity of this? So here is the weightlessness, they go in any direction. I mean, this is one other thing to learn. But maybe the most important, at least for us humans on the space station, is the medicine. Most of our human systems, at least many of them, are affected by the gravity or the weightlessness. And also radiation. And we need to understand it more and learn the effects and counter it. But we also learn new things about our bodies, because we study our bodies in a new way, we learn new things, and that knowledge is kind of then transferred to Earth to find new ways to help people with medical problems on Earth. So this is a lot of, but I will now tell you a little bit about how it is to live on the space station. So I mentioned that we use the urine, the sweat. And it's about 95 to 98%. The water goes out the back way, so you're not able to get that. And why is that? Well, it costs a lot of money to send things out. But it's also then we learn how to do these things. We also learn how to reuse like carbon dioxide, which they say, right? That's also about 40% the carbon dioxide is processed and we get the oxygen back, which you need to do. And as long as you have energy, you can do all these things. You just need lower energy. At least I can brag on that. On the International Space Station, 100% green energy. All the electricity comes from these huge solar arrays. Well, but otherwise, you live as you do that here as well. You have to sleep. You sleep around as much as in here. I must admit, we took some time to get used to fall asleep in weightlessness. Because I like to lie on my back on the bed and good. I turn around a bit and then I fall asleep. Well, in weightlessness, you don't feel any bit however you turn around. So you float into your sleeping bag and then you fall asleep finally. And then you sleep very well. You don't wake up with your arm. And you can sleep anywhere. So on the space shuttle, you have 7 people sleeping in the same little area. So it's good you can sleep anywhere. As you see the one to the left there, I'm upside down on like the back and the seating along the walls. On the space station though, all the crew members there, they have their own little cabin. The space station is large. What you see to the right side is one of the cabins before it had its last walls. And the Canadian had to live there. And I think he had to live there because Canada was the country paying, and the partner paying these to the space station. When we came to the space station, I took my stuff and made a camping site, so to say, on the European laboratory. It's one of the modules there is provided by Europe, Columbus, and that's where I have my little camping site. Hygiene, I kind of joke and say, well, it's very cheap hotel up there, there's no shower. Another hand, I didn't pay for it either. But why is no shower? Well, it's very hard to have a shower and the water doesn't fall down. That's the main reason. I mean, yeah, it would cost some money to also clean the water, but that's the main reason. So what you do, well, you take a little towel, you can put some water on it, and that's clean it. And other practical things, if you're up there for half a year, well, maybe you want to cut your hair, right? So then you have to think about that the hair won't fall down on the floor. So what you see down right there is how Tim and Nicole are cutting the hair of Roman. And they have connected a vacuum cleaner hose to that scissor to suck up the air. Very important is exercise. Exercise is always important. And school here, I hope you get exercise 2 times a week. But in weightlessness, your muscles and your bones deteriorate very quickly. Because you don't need them, you don't use them, you just float around. So to not be a wreck when you come back, it's not a problem as long as you're up here. But when you come back, if you have not done a lot of exercise, you really, really bad shape. Even when you do it, you will need quite some time for rehab if you're up to have. So people have on their daily working schedule, twice a day they have exercise. And there are various equipments for that. Down right there, you can see Sunny Williams, who was with me up on my first flight. She's running on a treadmill, but she has a harness, she doesn't float away when she's running. Up to the right, you see a very sophisticated machine. That's for strength training. Here on Earth, we normally use weights for strength training. Well, it's useless to use weights in weightlessness. So this machine has been built to give the same resistance, and this started to come in use some years after the space station. And when that came in use, people came back in a bit better shape. Even on the space shuttle, we have a little treadmill. That's me running on it there, cycling on it. 2 weeks in space is not critical, but it's still nice to do some workout now. Well, food, you saw that movie, and the down right there is from the same dinner. Wow. Well, I want to say that you eat the same kind of food as we do here. I mean, there's some meat and fish and vegetables, pasta, etc. It's just that you cannot prepare it. You cannot boil or fry it or cook it in the same. Everything is conserved in a way that it can last for a year without being in the fridge, and you cannot serve it on a nice plate because it floats away. That's why you eat out of these cans and stuff like that. So it tastes okay, but it's a bit boring to eat it like that. I thought that after only 2 weeks. Just think what people think after half a year. But you're not supposed to play with food, but you can still do it. So if you want to drink, you normally Their bags, there could be some powder in there, it might be black, and they call it coffee. You fill that bag with water, and then you can drink out of the straw. Or you do something like this, you just let it float like a big water. And you can give it some taste. This is candy from Sweden. That became a submarine. Special edition of candy, which normally have the shape of cars, but they made shuttles. And now comes the medical experimenter.
That's so
All right, sorry. Joke, as we do all commercials. Well, apart from weightlessness, the other wonderful things is being in space is the views on the Earth. You are here around 350, 400 kilometers altitude, and you go around. It takes only 90 minutes to go one orbit around the Earth. And when you've done one orbit, the Earth itself has kind of turned a bit, and you see new things all the time. And people take photos all the time in space. And there's actually a NASA website open for anybody where NASA puts all the photos astronauts take on Earth. There are millions, literally, several millions of photos. You can type in Johannesburg and I'm sure you find a lot of it. Sometimes it's easy to see where you are. If you see the picture on left there, you see that's the Red Sea, right? It's harder when you don't know where is north. But what you see there is also a little bit part of Africa. It's Gibraltar Strait. So you have Gibraltar itself down left. And so north is kind of down. Sometimes you see fascinating colors and shapes in the ocean, like this atoll outside Australia. You cannot see the Chinese wall with your bare eyes, that's a kind of myth. But you certainly see effects of human constructions. This, which looks like a piece of art, is an artificial lake, also in Africa, in Cameroon. You see a river which comes down there, and there's another river, you don't really see much, but that has been dammed up. It created this artificial lake among the river arms. The sun is low, and otherwise it's really night times. You realize that there's a civilization on this planet. And to me it was almost the most fascinating, floating over inhabited areas, particularly those I knew well, nighttime. It's like floating over a big map, big blocks of light for big cities, small blocks, small cities, outlining often the cities, small cities are on the sea and you are outlining the coast. And well, you all see and recognize this, at least full view here. This is sunlight equal, and the is now working down there at the very key body. And then you see Sicily, and then the big blob up there is Naples. And if you have good eyes, you see a black circle in that big light bulb. And that's the Vesuvius, and Vesuvius is a national park, and you don't have to build there. What you can see. Another fascinating thing is to see with your own eyes how thin the atmosphere is. So this narrow color band there between the Earth, which is up, and the universe, the black dark below it, that's the old life sphere of our humans. It's about 100 kilometers, and actually, indeed, it's only the 5%, 5 kilometers closest to Earth, where we have enough oxygen for us humans and most animals to live, unless they have a spacecraft or a spacesuit. And you can certainly think of the whole Earth as the spacecraft for all humanity, immense universe. And as we were very careful of taking care of our atmosphere on the spacecraft, because we wouldn't have much time if something goes wrong. We have more time on Earth, but we need to be careful with our atmosphere and living environment here on Earth as well. Perhaps, though, most emotion you feel when you have a chance to see your own home from space. That's my home. I cannot brag that I took this picture, beautiful picture of Scandinavia. You're not so used to Scandinavia as I am, but what you see there is basically most of Scandinavia and the arrow that points on Stockholm. But this picture was taken from the National Space Station a few years after I was there. And we have to be lucky because there's a lot of clouds up there. There's no clouds this time. You only see a certain point for a few minutes every day. Few times. Normally you have maybe 2 to 3 occasions, 6, 7, 8 minutes per time. And then in addition, you see the aurora in the back. So I'm back there, and now I mentioned I did my first studies at the National Institute of Technology. It's really my alma mater. Now I'm back there. I'm a professor in space astronautics. Although my background is physics, astrophysics, particle physics, but I'm now doing more in space travel related things. And I'm also chairman of the advisory board for the aerospace master program. So if you have to done your studies here, you want to do a master study there, let me know. I'm the director of the KTH Space Center. I'm not going to say much about that, but I wanted to let you know a little bit how we deal with space there. There's a lot of research groups at KTH doing space-related research. And the KTH Space Center is trying to support that. I mean, they've done some technological equipment to help it, to test material things with one of them space. We work with the teaching. We have a student satellite project. You see the guy down left there, the small 3D CubeSat, and things like that. No, space research is very varied. It's everything from you study space, trying to understand what's going on now, which Anders to from space you look on Earth, and you can use the space as a tool to understand what's going on Earth. They're trying to build technologies to understand how we can detect maybe wildfires quickly. You need to get things to space, and that's also a research to build better rockets, to build the instruments you need up there. And all these things you have various groups do. And all this you can call space research. There's a lot. And space is, of course, the most exciting is sending people to space, but it's a very small part of everything we've done in doing space. There's thousands of satellites up there, and they are growing exponentially in number of them. And they are used for communication, for observing the Earth, to provide better forecast, understanding what's going on the Earth. They are used for us to navigate in our iPhones, or smartphones. They're used to give time synchronization, plus grow is very important for banking systems, for electrical systems, etc. And of course, use it for research and inspiration. You can never overestimate the impact of inspiration from what's going on. Just one example of this as well here. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is one of the things which kind of ongoing you can do from space. You take photos from satellites, then you have modern AI computing technologies with machine learning. You train them so that the system can itself automatically find elephants on this kind of photos from, I'm not really sure where it is, it could even be South Africa, Tanzania. And then, this helps to keep track of elephants. It can also help them combine to fight against the borders and things like that. So the best cameras from space today, you have a resolution of 15 centimeters, commercial available 30. It's amazing. So all these things which happen means that there's a lot of money into space. Don't think of space as something different from everything else today. It's part of our society all the time. And more it's getting integrated in everything we're doing. And it's a great opportunity for business. And I don't know if you noticed that, but there was one of the members of this FAST4Future program, AAC Flight Space, which is actually a Swedish-Scottish company which has a branch in South Africa. So they are also realizing, and we need people educated in this field to make this running as well. Or I'm not going into detail. I just tell you, there's a lot of money. It's growing about twice as fast economy for space than the average economy in the world. The key to this is that building new reusable, cheap to use rockets or launchers. It used to cost a lot to send things to space. Well, it still costs a lot, but it's about only a factor of 10 less than it cost 10, 20 years ago. And the reason for this is new rockets, particularly this is driven by SpaceX, Elon Musk's company, who has a really reusable rocket, which doesn't cost a lot of money to reuse. You saw up the left there, how this Falcon 9 first stage came back down, landed on the barge in the ocean. Sometimes it lands back on the launch site, and they just need a week of refurbishment, not much work, and then they can launch it again. They do this now typically 3 times a week. These kind of, almost, really often. And some of these have been reused more than 20 times. Now, he's not the only one. That one is called the Rocket Lab, the electronics rocket. That's in New Zealand. There's also other countries. But the next really big step is one you see up right there, the Starship. How many of you have heard of the Starship? Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone interested in space. It's also a SpaceX, and that's why the Falcon 9 can reuse the first stage. The Starship will be able to reuse everything, and it will not come back on the launch site. You just refuel it very quickly and send it up again. And this will bring down the launch cost with another order or 2 of magnitude, and it will be really cheap to send things to space. And then kind of paradigm shift how you can use space. This test flew this 4 times, one better each time, first 3 or 4 times. But soon enough it will become operational. It's amazing how things will change. So what will we do with this? Now I go back to the human space flight because that's the closest. One thing is going back to the moon. There's a program called Artemis ongoing, led by NASA, but it's not only NASA, there's many other partners, more or less the same partners as the space station, minus Russia, plus the UAE right now, maybe others as well. And in contrast to Apollo, no one has been on the moon since December 1972. Really time to back. And Apollo, the main reason was to put the American flag there and have the guy come back alive. It was a geopolitical thing, almost only. And NASA was, US was prepared to pay a lot of money for this. Nowadays, we're not paying a lot of extra money, but we're working together, and we're going to make infrastructure on, around, and on the moon. There will be a space station, lunar gateway around the moon. Will eventually be a base on the moon. Will be first temporary man, and then probably a permanently crew. And one of the moon landers is that one in the middle, which is the same I just showed you in the previous picture. That's the version of this Starship. And it's not only a US-led Artemis program, it's also the Chinese who recently said that they will build a space station starting 2035, together with Russia and others. So there are a lot of activities. International space stations will stop working, at least the plan now is that after 2030, 2031 will be brought down. But the plan is not that we then will stop doing research and things in low Earth orbit, as we call it. No, the idea is there will be several other space stations, at least one, and they will not be owned and run by the space stations like NASA and ESA. It will be owned or run by companies who then are kind of paid by NASA, ESA, or private companies to do research or to go up there and visit the line or whatever. So it's coming in commercial business, even in human space. And these are not only PowerPoints. These things are getting bigger now, as we speak. They are being built in the manufacturing sites around, mainly in US. And soon the first one should do the stuff is going. And of course, Mars. Well, I don't know, but my best guess is sometime in the late 2030s. Who is maybe the more interesting? Who will be the first? And one of the contenders is certainly the SpaceX, Elon Musk company. He created this company because he had a vision that humans must go and colonize Mars soon. Sooner the better, just to be safe. If something bad happens here. And it will open a lot of new possibilities for humanity. So that's his whole idea. And the spaceship he's building now is to be able to send people to Mars. And what is he down there left is a vision SpaceX has for a Mars colony with starships inside. And if you're really a visionary and you think, what could we do on Mars? You know, once upon a time, Mars had an atmosphere like Earth and it was warmer than water on the surface. Can we kind of get back to that? Can we terraform Mars such that we can live there eventually one day without having to go around in space? Oh, that's the vision you see down there, right? Which is actually the first thing you see if you come to the headquarters of SpaceX. I see that on the wall. That's kind of a nice vision for a company. Nothing is mining astronauts, and that's really kind of how Johannesburg started, right? Mining. And you go, well, mining astronauts, that would be, some people believe this will be the really future thing to make a lot of money. And was Forbes who kind of projected, they said that the first space, the dollar trillionaire will be the one who sets up the company to mine asteroids. So there are reasonable possibilities that some astronauts, there are millions up there, have minerals which are extremely valuable and kind of even more valuable than gold. The answer was gold, and the other minerals here, there. But it's also actually when we start, and this is my vision, I'm sure, we have an interplanetary economy and moving between places in the between Earth and Moon and Mars. Not time to bring everything up from Earth would save a lot of money. So can we find water on this, or at least in ice, or use that water? That's very valuable for humans for making rocket propellant. There's also will be possible to create solar-based power stations in orbit around Earth. This is an old idea that you have huge solar rays on a big satellite, and then you transform it into microwaves or laser, and you beam it down to receive stations, and then you transform it again to the power grid. And this is now being looked into seriously because of what I said before, that the cost of sending it into space is decreasing so much. Then it's not impossibly expensive to doing it. And finally, I will end up with my own current project, which I'm looking into, as I mentioned at the beginning. So, like many, I'm sure here thinking about, well, how is it going with the climate? Well, what is going on? What can we do about it? I did think about that a couple of years ago, and I was reading one of popular science articles. They're very good to read. Which described the basics behind the problem. carbon dioxide going into the atmosphere catches more of the heat which gets to the Earth from the sun than it used to do. You get a more greenhouse effect, more carbon dioxide catches more. Well, but it's a level on per percent. Doesn't sound too much. Can't you just then trade off 1% of the sun coming into Earth to compensate for that? So I did some quick calculations. Oops, that's you need a pretty big kind of sunshade for that. But then I started this thing. Well, cost of launch going down a lot. It turned out that, of course, I wasn't the first one. When you get a good idea, someone else has gotten it before. But then it's not been really considered reasonable because you couldn't launch everything to space. But with the cost going down, it's not unrealistically expensive if we would need to do this, let's say, starting by 2040. If we cannot keep the temporary rise and control by getting rid of the carbon dioxide emissions, and temperatures start to increase too much, it will be less expensive to send a lot of sunshades, put them between the Earth and the Sun at the point called the Lagrange point 1. There will kind of gravitational forces equalize out. And by shading of about 0.5% of the sunlight hitting Earth, you can get the temperature down on 1 degree. So it doesn't solve every problem, not at all, and it's not sure it's supposed to be a first solution, but it's kind of climate insurance. So this is what I've been doing the last couple of years. I have a lot of students doing various kind of projects around this. It's hard to get money for it, to do research, but let's see if I do it. And one very interesting thing for when you come into physics and stuff is that to go from Earth to this point L1, which is about this 4 times further away than the moon is, you can use something called solar sailing. You use normal rocket to get into Earth orbit, but then to get to L1, instead of sending up all the rocket fuel, you can use the sunlight to actually propel yourself here. This light is composed of small particles called photons. And they're like small balls. So when they bounce on something, push a bit on the thing they bounce on. So if you have a big light membrane as a sail, the sunlight bounces on it, gives you force. And you can use that force to actually kind of maneuver in space. And this will be also a possibility to go in the future to Mars, not sending people because it goes slow, but to send cars. So with that, as I promised you, about 15 minutes of questions.